All right, and we are fully live. Welcome to the first episode of what will probably be called Roll History, where we just recap the previous episode and possibly do some Q&A, some other things. It's kind of a free-form thing right now, as you can tell by the layout. Um, so on the last session, we had our players starting off from the desert. They had just recovered from fighting some snakes. I think only one went down during the snake fight, correct? I think it was just Corin.
Got hit with a goddamn nat 20.
Hey,
I did too, but I survived.
Girl, me.
I
I'm no
honestly,
taller than a snake, but you're the one that got bitten, man.
yep.
Saw me as the threat.
I mean, you all were threats. You were standing over their collective clutches.
And then
Wants to be a
Gario decides
snake.
to raid the clutch.
I'm sorry, does it not seem like a good idea to take a bunch of snake eggs and the venom and hold on to them for purposes?
To me, unless you
I just have
plan on eating them, no.
Image of Gario later on, like, just as soon as these things hatch, start doing animal taming so that he can have them wrapped around his arms, and whenever he punches people, they bite.
No, no. Just there's so many things that are no about that. Fireball spells, like AoEs like that. Feeding them. Going in for handshakes and trying to teach the snake the difference between a handshake, a fist bump, and a punch. That would be quite extensive and probably past the snake's ability to think and learn.
Depends on how many he keeps. If he keeps one, he could always make it a familiar.
No, that's not how that works at all. There are creatures that are magical that can become familiars because they are magical. You can't just look at any old dung beetle on the side of the road and be a wizard and just be like, Alakazam, you are mine. You can do that as a druid, not as a familiar, but yeah, no, you're not just gonna find some random schmuck animal because that's how I get an argument from you saying, "Hey, a displacer beast is technically a creature. Why can't it be my familiar?" I know how you play things, Brad. Anyway, back to the recap. Upon collecting
Let me
eggs
have a
and
familiar this time.
upon collecting eggs and braving the melting pot desert, they manage to find their way to what looks like a bird bath in the sand. A little bit of digging around the bird bath and in a separate area reveals that the town is completely and totally engulfed in the desert sand. At least 3 stories high. The players figured out exactly how high as they all went careening into the building one way or another, save for the one who is not present, which is Jay. Little Norik went first and did not make the fall. He did not die, but he was knocked quite unconscious. Sandboarding after Norik was the heroic Arcris, who barely made it down there in one piece, but made it down there in one piece regardless, and uh, upon crawling into a bell for safety as sand started to fill the area they fell into, um, next came Gario. Yes, it was Gario, who climbed down and decided to survey the situation. Gario managed to block some of the sand for a little while, but it eventually pushed back as Corin was coming down the rope Gario was using. And then things went to shit, where the bell started to sink into the sand. Corin falling down trying to secure the bell went down before it. Um, Gario weighed his options, saw the roof was collapsing, saw the floor had swallowed up 3 of his companions, and as he was making his decision, the life-saving rope he was holding onto was cut, and he sank down into the sands with everyone else. Jay being the one to cut the ropes, not realizing the situation everyone was in, did manage to save Flint, Corin's horse, but uh, on the flip side, was stuck for a while trying to figure out his own way in. As he was doing that, the party was.
Looting.
Well, I was going to say the party discovered that they were in a cathedral of sorts, one to the different kinds of gods that are worshipped in the lands. This cathedral was, nobody knows quite how old, but was abandoned over a century ago. The adventure started off with Corin lighting everything on fire. Everything.
Light?
Just, yeah, yes, to make light and a crap ton of smoke. And as that was happening, Arcris decided to blast open a door, further gaining questions from Gario. Another thing about
Magic.
Another thing about Arcris and Gario and Norik is that the previous two males discovered that Arcris had cleavage, which was interesting for someone who was fully male.
No, she doesn't. Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Norik didn't say anything about it. Gario commented on her luscious bulges. But Arcris adjusted his clothing, as he says he wants to cross-dress into a male and be called as such. And they went about their business. Jay eventually made his way into an attic after clearing off a bit of the roof of the cathedral in order to find an entrance, and met up with the rest of the party as Gario went back in, and Arcris found a box which not only contained what would be later to be found out as drug money, but a package of said drugs called Vision. While this was going on, Corin had found out that there was a small hatch beneath the pulpit by leaning on it until it finally snapped and gave way, and after some debate lowered the halfling cleric of Norik down into it. Norik found a sign but has no idea what it said and made a rubbing. Eventually the rubbing was brought up to Jay. Remind me again, did Jay eventually figure out what it said?
I believe we did. I believe after we determined that it was in Dwarven or something of that nature.
Gnomish. It uses Dwarven script.
Right. He said what it was, and then we'd heard a click, and I believe that's where we ended the previous session.
You didn't hear a click, you heard clicking.
Yeah. Jay ended up using a ritual, and that's when Arcris and Gario decided, we're gonna go raid other shit.
Yep. So Arcris and Gario make their way down into the basement, where they notice that a bookshelf isn't supported behind it. There's no wall. Gario goes to split the bookshelf, but his fists do not seem to be the siege weapons he hoped they are. Arcris, however, just backs up, takes a swing with the axe, and cleaves the thing in twain, earning a accusation of showboating from Gario. Upon entering the room, they realize that this is where the Vision drug was made, and that this was a base of operations for some sort of, at least mini drug cartel. And they tripped the security measures that had been left behind, which animated a few of the materials used to make the drug. However, those materials that I used had very little, if any, chance of hitting either of those two, and were little more than just XP fodder, which boosted them to level 2. But yeah, I think that's the basics of what happened. There's more meat and potatoes to it. If anybody has parts they would like to bring up, or parts they enjoyed, or even question about any of the parts they've been through, I'll give you as much information as I can without breaking meta or revealing too much about the world.
How the hell do you come up with the names for these drugs? It seems every time we play a game, there's a drug with an interesting name.
To be fair, when I did it in Nate's campaign, absinthe is already a thing. It is an alcohol, a non-drug, alcohol is a drug, but it is not the hallucinogenic people think it is, but for the sake of the campaign, we decided that it would be. So absinthe was it by itself. Vision is called Vision because it is a drug that causes the user to get in true sight up to 10 feet for as long as the dosage lasts. However, it is highly addictive, and upon taking so many doses, the iris and pupil of the user in one eye starts to undergo mitosis and create multiple, which will then start floating around the eye. And this has caused many of the users to start wearing glasses, tinted glasses, eye patches, masks, other things, because they'd rather be viewed poorly than actually viewed and seen for what they are. The true side effect gets weaker and weaker as the person continues using it, but the urges to use it do not weaken at all. It is a terrible drug and one that is hard to get off of.
Good God.
How much of it does it take for the mitosis to start showing up? Say the amount that was on that platter, if we were to, say, throw it in someone's face.
Oh, that platter could easily make all of you start the splitting of the eyes if you were to use it. It's not a lot. The single dosage, if someone had a very terrible reaction to the dose of vision, they could already undergo it.
And would you say suddenly having true sight unexpectedly could be disorienting?
Oh, very much so. Especially depending on if, say, something is hiding from you or something isn't in their true shape. But it also causes hallucinations.
That's awesome. We should get some of that and throw it at enemies. Like, say, that fucking bandit.
Well, there is some in the basement if Gario and Arcus will decide to tell you guys about it in the next session. I'm going to lean towards not because of the vial that's already being kept in a player's bosom.
No.
And
No,
By the way-
no drugs.
Angie, I do need to ask you, on behalf of Corin to Arcus, at what point does it stop being grave robbing and it turns into archaeology?
I did give this answer. If you do not
Depending
remember.
how long it's been sitting without anybody attending to it and such, and nobody has like claim owned to it, etc. It's like an archaeology thing. Yeah.
I think in the previous session, it was something like
I
it
know.
was laid fallow for a century or something, wasn't it?
If nobody had claim to it and it had been going for it had been left for a century, and any attempt, like say if there were people that were tied to it but didn't know, any attempts to reach them if they were not met within say a 3-month period, then the 100 years thing would go into effect and it would be considered archaeology. This can also be disputed once the things are found, but it's a lot harder at that point because usually they are sold, distributed, or held onto.
For those of you who like to watch us and occasionally have heard bells ringing in the background, it's because Brad has had difficulties muting his mic once in a while, and this cutie here with the bell on her collar is come calling and playing your feet. Say hi, Freya.
She's like, let me go.
Let me go, please.
Go on.
I still would love to come down and meet her sometime. She's just so freaking adorable.
Let's be honest, at some point, everybody's going to end up down here playing a session. Probably at my place.
We probably won't be able to stream it, unfortunately, just given the status of your internet.
Fingers crossed that I can get better in the future.
I'm not gonna cross those fingers too long. I live down there.
Where 5G is coming into the area through a very specific provider, hopefully I'll be able to get the home internet through that.
Right, but do you have a contract you have to end first?
No, I just pay for the year. They're already paid. If I cancel, it's canceled.
So so it's one of those situations where they're like, okay, you can end it, we're keeping your money.
Probably. I mean, I'm not 100% certain, but my family knows the company that I have internet through, so fingers crossed that it could work.
Very true. But yes, Vision is a wonderful thing. It will be making a couple appearances in the campaign, as I have decided I really do like this idea. And what's a world without a drug problem?
A world.
No, that's a fantasy world.
I wonder what kind of world D&D takes place in.
It's ours, except the depression could be cured by magic.
That doesn't mean that your story out there, everybody has to have these levels of
No, not at all.
debauchery
Not
if you
at
so
all.
choose. It's
No.
always up to the DM and the players. It doesn't always
No, do
have
not.
to be that.
There is no need to take the way I do things and the way I DM as law. I am very much still kind of coming into my own with these kind of things, and I'm going to do things that are going to annoy other people, same as people do things that annoy me when it comes to campaigns of deity. It's just how it is. It's individuality.
Yes, Brad, your campaign was quite strange because you wanted to give us all magic
Okay.
items right off the damn bat.
That's
and
not
everything.
even what I'm talking about. So
So
if
Brad's saying
everyone-
he's that player.
yeah, I'm
Yeah, that too.
just to pass on to everybody. I'm the player who likes to play the game of let's see if I can be the one that makes the DM say "fuck you" first.
He plays the game where he wants to see how badly he can break and game the system, such as arguing with an artificer over how his own magic item works. That's why
I
the
like the counter game a little too much.
yeah, I'd be careful with that because
I'm working on it.
there's a reason that a rope of climbing and a rope of entanglement are two different magic items.
It's always worth a shot seeing if it'll work. That's a good way to test out the water.
Very true.
But I mean, there was the time with the holy symbol, the other campaign. I'm still so proud of that shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was a good one.
All right. Any questions and that can be answered from players, or if the chat has any, feel free to type them up. I do have it sitting right in front of me, so I should see the message.
So, how about we let Angie answer a few questions? I know I have a couple for sure, since she has to leave pretty soon.
Okay, Angie, answer as many questions as you can. Enjoy that, man.
Ooh,
Minefield.
I got 10 minutes. Let's go.
How did you come up with the concept for Arcris?
Back when we were wanting to play Nate's second campaign, and we did like Sazix, Roma, and everything, I wanted to do Arcris, but as a tiefling crossdresser. So I asked
remember you told me
Hazen
that.
if I could be a human crossdresser instead, and he said yes.
Oh my god, I love that idea. Why couldn't we done that back in the that wasn't Disney. That was, what was that one called?
Yeah, that was
That
Disney.
was Disney.
Because
Roma,
Roma-
because Roma was golden. We
Yeah.
know it.
Roma beat out Arcris for her character that she was going to play. Because
Oh,
she
that's
wanted
right.
Arcris to be more of a magic caster, and she got rogue.
Well, and the fact that Nate told me that the cross dressing wasn't going to work how I wanted it to, and Hazen and I have gone into extreme details on how to get it work on both of our ends. So it's nice.
Well, that's a weird juxtaposition from doing everything yellow. Yeah, I'm going back to that.
For those of you who may not understand what we're talking about, Brad, Hazen, Angie, and I, and Nate, who is at the moment handling a family emergency, we've been playing several different campaigns together for about
2 years.
3 years now. 2
Maybe
years
about
now?
3 years.
2 years in January.
Would it be 2 or I think it'd be 3?
Hazen and
It
I
has to be
didn't
at
start
least
until
2 now.
January.
We started with Nate in December, I thought. Like, that's the first time we went to the
That's
shop.
when we first. No, that's when we first came. Was like, hey, we want to join. And they were like, okay, after the holidays,
Right.
we'll start.
No, you're
and
right.
Nate was like, I'll run one, even though I don't want to run one. And it was
And-
really great, and that became despair.
I had played with Nate a little bit beforehand with that, just a couple sessions because I had only been playing for about 4 or 5 months at that point. And
I'd met Brad. He had come in on the back end of a late campaign that I'd been playing at our local game shop. And yes, I know that
my
face.
recommendation to anybody starting out, first class, don't play Warlock. Too damn complicated.
No, play Warlock. Like,
I
just
love
sign this on.
Warlock. It's
I-
great.
Okay,
So complicated.
okay, let's do this real quick while we have all 5 of us here. What was everybody's first class? Mine was Cleric, to be specific, Trickster Cleric.
The first one I played for an
Angie,
extended period of time was Fighter. I just like hitting shit.
Brad still only plays fighter. Don't let him fool you.
Whatever. I played Rogue, Cleric.
Okay, no.
Guns.
With us, he's played Hadrian, a fighter. Liam, a fighter. Will, shockingly, was a cleric who acted like a fighter.
Whatever.
Farn was your warlock in the first campaign, but then eventually turned into a fighter more than a warlock.
No, he was a fighter that
Because
turned
I
into a
didn't know how to
warlock.
play a warlock.
All right, we'll go Angie next.
Oh, I was a rogue assassin. It was great, and I miss her so much.
Assassins are so much fun.
I fucking loved Tora. She was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She was just perfect.
Then we'll go Jen.
No problem.
I like playing Rangers, and the first character I made, I actually had a really hard time trying to decide between Druid, Fighter, Rogue, and Ranger, but I didn't want to do pure melee and I didn't want to do pure magic. So when I saw that the Ranger was kind of a mix of the two and is very much utility based, I thought, all right, perfect, I can do that.
All right. Not to mention it covered almost every single class you had mentioned: rogue, druid, and fighter.
Let's see, I've got a cleric, I've got 2 rangers now, 2 varieties of ranger. Cleric, bard. Did I say rogue already?
You did say rogue. You haven't said
Rogue.
paladin.
Paladin, I'm sorry, I did forget Ryza. Holy crap.
Bards are.
But I like, I want to eventually try each.
Forget about my campaign, I see.
I'm sorry. But I want to try a little bit of every class. I know I'm not going to be good at all of them, but I at least want to try each to see how they hit me, you know?
And Ryan.
I'm doing real good over here. So the question is 5 or in general?
We'll go in
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 general.
general, it don't matter.
The answer to that question. The answer to that question then would be a Duskblade Stormlord.
Duskblade
Wow.
Stormlord.
That
I
was
have.
like, what, 3.0?
I need to know. I can't find my first edition player handbook.
I think that's like an equivalent between a fighter and a warlock now, almost.
Angie?
No, a Duskblade is basically a demon hunter, and a Stormlord is a druid who got struck by lightning.
Oh, so kind of a combo blood hunter warlock then. No, it's not
Why
too
do I
bad.
feel like that's the easiest kind of like druid specialization? Because all you need to do is get to the point where you know call lightning. Like,
Yes,
don't
but then you also
have
have to know, because call lightning doesn't work. You actually have to be struck by lightning, meaning you have to somehow survive 140 D10 damage.
Yikes.
Yikes.
That was a lightning strike back in the day.
Wow.
140 D. Did you say D10 or D4?
D10.
Oh, I'm gonna average that out on a roller because I don't, despite my dice collection, I don't have 140 D10.
I believe that was the equivalent of what Tora was doing in the very last session we had.
Oh no. She did
100.
over 88 D8. Over 88 D8 for one claw attack, not counting her other 2 attacks.
Are we counting at level 20, or are we talking about when we were at level
Oh, no.
30? We decided,
No.
fuck it, we have a
The
bull
88
attack.
D8 came with one of the. Okay, so Tora is my little special bean because how Brad wanted to go, I want to break Hadrian every single way. I want to break Tora in every single way quietly.
Hey, Mano.
And so I sent Nate these cool feeds, and he's like, yeah, that'll work. When he didn't realize that anything that counts as a D6 could be changed into a D8 depending on some sort of form of what happens if you set it up correctly. Being a rogue, you get a lot of D6s, especially being like the master rogue, like history from there. A bunch of D8s.
I just decided to do a test roll for that lightning strike that Ryan meant. Yeah, 862 damage.
Woo!
Yeah,
So
that
you'd want to have at least lightning resistance or immunity.
at least or lightning resist immunity. That's fine. Yeah.
Immunity doesn't work. You have to actually take some damage. You have to be struck. If you have immunity, you haven't been.
Well, that's just dumb.
So, what questions do you guys have for Angie before she goes?
What just happened with you in the headset?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, my sound just goes roar right in my ear, and I had to take it off because it hurt really bad. And I
it
was
looked like
almost
you were in
deaf.
pain. I wanted to make sure you were okay.
Oh no, it hurt. It did hurt.
Okay, so we need to get you. Oh, Angie, Mono's got a very important question for you. Is it? Does that extra plus at the end not mean it's like an invalid equation?
Yeah, because then it leads into 2 + 2 = fish.
Ah, yes, but of course.
Yep. That's a very Torah answer, wouldn't you think?
Yep.
She was my first, okay? Oh no, I don't want to go to work.
Plus, I mean, she was a cat, so fish.
Fish.
No, she was too busy making the
Oh.
fuck. Angie, before you go, explain what the fuck is.
The fuck is the fuck, and I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
You're not gonna enlighten.
That was my enlightenment. Take it or leave it.
So, okay, I'll say it. Angie, as Tora, our rogue, decided she wanted to create a substantial meal to satiate a couple things she was dealing with. So, oh, now you know what I'm talking about. Now, do you want to say the story before you go?
Keep going, keep going. I gotta put my
Okay.
shoes.
So, Tora disappears from the party for a while into the forest. We've got no idea what's going on. What we come to find is she has taken a deer and a fox, or sorry, a buck and a fox. She has killed both.
Oh, that's
She
right.
is in the process of stuffing the fox inside the deer, turducken style, and we call it the fuck.
I
I'd
thought we
forgotten
called
about
it
that.
box.
We called it a box for a while, and then we realized we could call it fuck.
Yeah, that's right.
Tora was great and did many great things, and there's nobody that I mean, all my characters come close. I do a lot of good things with my characters.
I will say to everybody out there watching, characters like Tora and Maya Bani from the same campaign, Hadrian, which is Brad's, and Micah, which was Hazen's, are all the product of a great DM when you have them willing to say yes to you more than no. And I encourage every DM to at least attempt that once.
Yep.
Also, whenever you're playing your characters, never be afraid to just say, fuck it, I want to try this.
Yeah.
Yep, that too.
Here's another thing, though, that is a very important lesson when dealing with the DM. If you've got something you don't want to happen, don't say it. Like, you are literally feeding into us. If you say, man, it would suck if there were 3 demons around the corner about to ambush us, I'd be like, you're right, there's 5. Like,
Yeah.
Brad and Jen have given me such wonderful ideas for my campaign that I wouldn't have actually thought was a good idea or even thought of.
One more
More
tip
him
before
than
I
me.
go.
Oh, Angie's
One
got
more tip before I go.
Angie, give us your
No.
parting wisdom.
Don't flex on the DM if you do something great, because they will take things away.
Yeah, don't brag.
Yeah,
And I'm
that
not
too.
saying that just from experience, but there was a time, and they can explain during the Despair campaign we did, that Tora went and stuck through this whole entire situation like that, and he took away something really cool from me, and it wasn't anything I could help.
Yep.
But be prepared, it happens. It's still fun, but stick with it. It's
That's
great.
fine.
Other ways to screw up your DM.
Bye.
Bye, Angie. Have fun at work. Love you.
Bye, sis.
We have other players that know what it's like to get things taken away by the DM. Ethereal Bow.
Yeah.
I had a character with a separate group, because I have no life and I played D&D way too much, that it was a rogue barbarian.
That's not
Didn't
technically
realize the
allowed to
full
happen.
build until later on. But I sneakily, as time went on, slowly but surely hunted down and found items that would just build on one another until I became borderline unstoppable at like level 11. To the point that the DM just said, fuck it, you all lose all your magic items. I literally had spent close to 20 to 30,000 gold on items.
I
had, like,
remember that.
10,000 gold, and it was in a magic pocket I had There's basically a handy haversack in my pocket. I lost all that too. I literally lost everything. So my character is now running around butt naked for a solid session, trying to frantically get weapons and clothing.
I will point out in the Despair campaign, at least you weren't the one that was stupid enough to throw an enchanted earring in a bag of holding and then attempt to shoot it.
Yeah, no, I tried to stop you on that.
That was her only thought, to get rid of this bullshit thing that was giving her voices beyond what she already knew was in her head.
It wasn't even you that had the earring. It was fucking Alton. Alton.
Like I say, for those of you out there, yes, Angie and Hazen are husband and wife. So
Mono
that
knows.
kind of works.
Yes.
She's
And just for prosperity for others who aren't here, Hazen, that's all.
This thing's gross.
You just
Angie
say that
probably
because
has
you don't get
poop.
any.
Yeah, no, that's true. You're not wrong.
Swing at me, boy. I'll go for the ankles.
Are you going straight for that Achilles tendon?
Yep.
Kevin Hart over there?
Well, we got our first campaign suggestion. Mono says use more tongue.
God, Mono, really?
Too bad we don't have money anymore over here with her snake tongue.
Yeah, Mono's hilarious, and she just don't care. So that she makes for the best kind of humor.
Mono, I like you.
Just don't like her more than her husband does.
Okay, I'm a lonely motherfucker. I'm not desperate enough to just be like, random person I don't even know who. What'd you look like? I like you. I like you a lot.
Okay, stop trying to be Flynn Rider.
Okay, we're technically getting a little bit off topic.
A little.
That's what this is for! This is us
boy.
just goofing around, letting people get to know us as a person as well as with our characters.
Right.
And we've killed Mono. Great, the first casualty of the
Oh,
campaign.
yay! That's the one question I didn't need to worry about. Yay. So, question for Ryan. You said you've been playing since what edition now? I think you said it was 3.0.
Sure.
Or is it 3.5?
Yes, sure.
AKA you don't remember. That's okay.
You got no idea.
And we lost the doofus. This is not new.
It looks like he's
They made
raving
it
given the
for me.
lights.
Okay, so just because we have people here, and also I want to show this to Ryan, my father apparently played D&D a little bit back when he was like 10. And I was over at my grandparents' place about a year and a half ago, and she had said she'd found something of his. So, walking back there, she gives me this. A first edition player module. This thing is old as hell, guys. But then I asked her where she found it, and she said, over here in this bookcase. And I just happened to spot out of the corner of my eye D&D on the spine of a book.
Yeah. I remember you showing us pictures of those. Those look in fantastic condition.
Thank his dad.
He played like 5 times. Never touched them again. And Grandma just kept them in a closet for like 40 years.
Silly Object, who definitely isn't my wife, asks, why does Arcris make Gario so suspicious?
To keep from letting loose too much information, we'll just say that Gario doesn't like magic as it stands, and that act really doesn't make him happy.
Okay.
I don't think that fact would make anybody happy.
Am I allowed to mention the subclass that you're planning to choose for Monk? Or is
Or do
that
we want
something you're
that
wanting to hold on
described?
to for right now?
I feel like that's going to ruin it a little
Okay,
bit,
no,
but
you
that's
can hold
up to
on
you.
it. You can hold on to it.
I mean, it's one of two things. He's going to subclass into at least one rank of rogue, if that makes anybody feel any better.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Makes sense.
But, sure. I'll have someone you can meet to help teach you that, so it also makes sense story-wise. Meet
and
the
Mono-
god. I've almost got your god done.
They
of
would
that.
be worth money if they were in Saran Wrap. As it is now, the Dungeon Master Guide might be worth something. The player module, not so much. But
Hi,
I'm not selling it
Teddy.
because
Don't you
Say that is Angie Nathan's long-haired dachshund girl named Teddy. She is such a sweet girl. She's old, little old girl.
She's a toy spaniel, and she's fidgety as all get out.
I thought she was dachshund with how long she is.
Toy spaniel has dachshund. It's dachshund spaniel mix.
Got it. Sorry.
Yep. She looks like a little shadow on the camera. You can barely make out her muzzle.
you can see a little bit of eyes.
Yep. All right. Back down with you.
Bye, Teddy.
Back to your nap. I just had to disturb her. What do you? What on what, Mono?
Who's doing what? What's doing who?
Mono said what to me, and then she says I don't know. So
What?
cool. Let's see. Brad, you scarily enough haven't asked any questions.
I'm still debating on how much to ask.
We're so going to tell you
Dude,
is
all you
no.
can do is ask, and then if someone says not answering, that's fine. Just
Well, to be fair,
Yeah.
a lot of the questions that I've been wanting to ask Hazen, I just haven't had a chance to call him because I still, for you guys that are just now watching us and don't know who I am as a person, I am a extremely bad procrastinator. As in, I made my character sheet probably 20 minutes before the first session. And I see you up there, Ryan. Then I was still debating on the name, and I forgot the name.
Yeah, Brad's that character that, like, you're like, hey, even if you're not doing a show like we're trying to do, you go, hey, Brad, the campaign's going to be starting next week. Do you have your character sheet done? Oh, yeah, I've almost got it done. It's just, I got to work on a few more things, like, you know, the name, the attributes, the class, the subclass,
I have
the
it in my head.
background.
the lengthy
I'm
background
very
story.
lazy and don't like take the time. I could be playing Smite or something instead, or watching a TV show. I don't think we're allowed to throw out names of great TV shows on here.
That's
So
not.
I'm not going to say any. But there are certain actors that just, okay, I gotta watch this show. So I have a bad habit of, I figure all this stuff up in my head. I know for a fact that I can come up with a decent backstory within 20, 30 minutes. Pull a lot of shit out my ass, pitch it towards the DM. If they say yay, great. If they say nay, okay, let's come up with something else. So I still need to fine tune his backstory with Hazen because I've got a rough draft of it. Needs to be finalized. I would like to ask Hazen
Mm-hmm.
about the world itself
Okay.
because we haven't went too much in detail into, like, we know we're in the Fiend's Halo. We've mentioned casually a few other countries, but we've never actually went into detail about the geography. You know, is the Devil's Halo all desert? Is it just this section of it? What are the surrounding countries like? You know, the northern end, the southern end. Is there an ocean around us? Are there islands? Stuff like that.
Yep. Mono, who is affiliated, says we're allowed to talk about shows and stuff like that. She says when we get affiliated, we have to be careful about sexual terms and offensive language.
Let's just hope we don't get affiliated anytime soon. That's going to be tough.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
No
that's
offense to
like I said.
anybody out there.
The sexual terms we're pretty good on. It's more or less the offensive language.
Yeah, cursing. I'm sorry, people. I do turn my blue collar in a while.
I curse like a sailor.
I
As
mean, you're allowed cussing so long as you label it 16, 13 plus. Oh wait, all of Twitch is.
So wait.
Um,
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna pause this, Brad. You do have a great question, and I do want to get to it. But so all of Twitch is either 13 plus or 16 plus, but you still have to label your stream accordingly if you're affiliated.
Because
That's
let's be
interesting.
honest, everybody's can claim, "Oh, my younger brother was watching it with me, and I thought it was clean," or "My kids walked in while I was watching it, and they heard the F word, and now they're saying it constantly, and I look like a bad parent." People are.
Let's take it easy with criticism just a touch too. I mean, we're not trying to offend anybody at all. It's just us being us.
Yep.
As a Twitch
I'm
as a Twitch affiliate, they have some fucked up scenarios. They know it. Trust me.
And this one's a veteran streamer. He would probably know.
Yep. So, we'll start with part of the question. We'll start with the Fiend's Halo because that literally does encompass the entirety of the continent. The Fiend's Halo is not all desert. It like you weren't quite in desert yet. You were just in a very
Arid.
Oh, hey, Boo Bear. You were in a very arid area that had been coming from grassland / forest. If you were to continue going south instead of going, I believe it was east or so into the desert, it would have been more forest, gotten a little more, kind of like deciduous forest.
I will never apologize for that again, Boo Bear. I gave you your one apology. It will not happen again.
So the Fiend's Halo can be coastal. Quite a bit of it is actually coastal. The Fiend's Halo can be forest. It can be Arctic. There is what if you go north, very cold, frigid areas.
So, what I'm gathering is it kind of extends over a decent portion of the continent, so it hits a lot of different biomes.
Yeah, it's just simply the edge of the continent. There are certain points in the continent where the Fiend's Halo is less like what the stereotype of it is, which is a very dangerous, lawless wasteland where every single person there is out to get your purse or your kidneys, whatever they get first.
Like
there are dangerous places to be, as you've seen with the bandits and everything like that. Bertram being one of the bandit leaders you've met. But you've also seen people like Crystal who just live in the Halo, enjoy the freedom that they have, and live off of it the best way they can. There are very not quite lawful, but places that have codes of conduct or rules that you have to follow. It's just instead of being thrown in jail, if you're found breaking their rules, they're just gonna gut you in front of everybody. Just kind of that sort of thing. So you just have to be careful where you are, but that's why you'll see some places where you'll see trading routes going through from the coast into the more civilized parts of the continent.
So,
And the entire country
Yep.
world is called a Eidolon, or is that just a subsection of it?
That is the continent. The continent is Eidolon. Alright, your first question.
Because my mouth to brain filter tends to bust once in a while, just like I made an unfortunate and unintentional racist remark in session 0, and that was not intentional. I was 100% not racist, I promise you.
I wouldn't have drawn attention to it, honestly, but...
same.
Basically, she meant to say the coins went ching. And we'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Honest
Excuse
mistakes.
me a moment, I'm going to turn on a light because I can get the background blinking out.
Yep. Yeah,
That's better.
yeah. She thought about that word too, and I think she accidentally created a fusion.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Onomatopoeia is hard.
Yeah.
Heavy
I
in my
just
head.
next time would not bring it up ever. Let the past die, and if someone else brings it up, then you
I
apologize.
get it.
But yeah, so the Fiend's Halo does encompass the entirety of the continent of Eidolon. Both of the majoring countries and their ruling parties do border the Fiend's Halo. It's just simply, it's such a vast amount of land to try and conquer right now with all of the people that are in it. It's not worth them to try and attempt it.
Only continent, or are there other known ones?
There's other known continents. None of you have been to them. Everybody is based in Eidolon in some form or another.
There's always room for growth to the campaign in the future. I like it.
Or for a new campaign to take place in the same world.
Sure. Wonder if certain characters will show up, like a certain shopkeeper.
I mean, you've already seen one reference to the old campaign, which is the goddess Sifri.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure what that reference is.
Sifri is Talia's last name.
Oh!
The goddess of building and forging and also debauchery.
Reference to another campaign we are in the process of still going through.
Yep. Yep, and now Brad's going, oh, that reference just kind of smacked me in the face.
Only worried about. See, to her, that means more than likely this is taking place in the future, which means that tales of my character in that campaign's dumbass moments persisting. But
Good continuation there, Brad. Way to follow through with the sentence and bring it to a close.
I'm worried about Liam's and legacy. Did he lead to
Liam is not.
or did he actually do good?
This is not the same world as that old campaign. This is a new world. It's just I'm throwing in references here and there, and you will run into references from almost every campaign we've been in, so long as I can remember references to throw in. And no, Brad, that does not mean you spoon feed me some from your campaign.
No, I'm fine with that campaign just dying.
Jen, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
To think about it, I think Brad and I together have been in roughly 5 campaigns, and I've been in roughly 4 campaigns with you and Angie. Now, Hazen, is that about right?
Sounds about right.
I think say so. Guru or Ryan is the newest kid to the bunch. And say I was the one who asked him if he willing to join, and he was kind enough to do so. I hope everybody's been enjoying the interaction with the crew, with the new kid in the bunch.
Oh yeah. This stream would not be nearly as I know it's not as professional as a stream as it possibly could be, but the level of professionalism we have to how it looks, how it sounds, and everything else like that is due to Ryan. Also, I love that you guys keep pointing at him. I was gonna say, unless you're looking at the stream, you're not gonna realize which direction is the correct one.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jen keeps just going, he's over there!
He's technically this way on my screen.
Yeah.
But I noticed he is this way, I think, on Switch, which is a little weird,
Yes.
so I'm having trouble, people. I'm sorry.
Brad, you literally, at many times, throughout the campaign and now, you look like you're swimming in that chair.
Yes. That's a fantastic chair, though. I have sat in it.
I got a new chair. I'm finally not in a kitchen chair. It's so nice. I can swivel. I can lean back. I mean, as a DM, I'm probably not going to be doing this. If I'm doing this, they've probably done something that has made it irredeemable to me that I'm just like, okay, everybody dies now.
I just am sad that if it wasn't for the fact that this came from my family, like this chair, it's up to Hazen to be his official DM chair.
I appreciate it, but it would be a bitch to try and get in my apartment.
It's a 4-hour drive plus hauling up 2 flights of stairs. I don't think so, but
Not
maybe.
to mention Civil War era doors, which are smaller than usual people's doors.
Gotta remember,
there's that
Jen,
too.
that my job randomly sends me across the state, so there is a chance that at some point I'd be up there covering a store and I could just go a car because I get paid mileage.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Civil era buildings, Civil War era buildings. Bleh, I'm a DM. I should be able to speak. This room, I'm in. It's fun trivia. It has no lighting whatsoever. Here, we'll just do a little show and tell. This is me turning off my lamps. Complete and total darkness.
Yeah.
So
Like-
And apparently shit has not changed up until including the 1980s because I'm in a 1970s house. The only reason I have light in here is because I have my drapes open and a light right in front of me. That is it.
it's
I'm
probably
just too lazy to replace the fluorescent bulbs in my place, so desk lamp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ryan, I
Ordinance
think
of-
you're the only one that actually has active lighting above your head. Maybe.
It's not active. They're all burnt out over above me.
Yeah,
There's
that's why
one
she said
like
yours didn't work.
short. I have problems reaching high, and I don't feel like trying to get a ladder in here. Being 5'7".
Well, you should get your step ladder since you never knew your real ladder.
So, back to the story at hand. I'm curious how Ryan's character came about in his head.
Things need punching. Monks are good at punching.
So, well, that
in
too.
real life, so I'll punch them in D&D.
But the truth of the matter was, I mini-maxed a little bit. And it was the concept of, I looked at who we had here, what was missing, and I went, we have something missing here. What can I add to the party since we're missing something? I know, I'm going to be a monk. Because monks apparently can not only punch things, but also cast spells depending on which way I go. This'll work fine.
Yep. Between you and Jay, you almost make an entire rogue.
Yeah, really?
Corin is the tank. Although you're the only one with a D10 of hit dice. Everybody else has D8s.
And I'm the only one that's been knocked unconscious in combat instead of falling on their head. I just decided power gaming.
Yeah.
What's the one that's hardest to power game? Because any bullshit abilities where you're just like ball of fire on that guy.
Enjoy your dinner, Mono.
I mean, I've also knocked out and killed half the things by just going, oh, look, I can sneak. Oh, look, two guys.
Yep.
I trust in thrust.
Yeah. That's when
What?
she sent a bunch of emojis that say trust and thrust. And what I like to believe that is that's when you pick up someone who's highly questionable, but you're like, you know what? I'm not going to catch anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways,
That could also be a good tagline for Brokeback Mountain. Took her a
Listen,
sec.
do not kill me this early. I really actually like playing
what about
Yorick.
TV shows, but you're allowed to make that joke? Really?
I'm the DM. I make the rules.
Brad tends to also be the pun / joke master amongst the original crew.
He is the
But-
apprentice. How dare you?
Sometimes-
I hold that title.
I'm the one
But
that
they-
just makes everybody
Let me
face
finish.
palm.
They tend to land flat. Either one of you, they tend to land flat.
That's what our jokes are. Like, my philosophy on jokes is the machine gun philosophy. If I fire enough jokes, one of them has to land.
Kicked out of a D&D group during a single session following the trail of a werebear, and I kept making bear puns.
And let me guess, they couldn't bear it anymore.
Now you guys see my pain. Jesus, Pete.
Need to be a little careful. There was a fight up ahead. It might be a little grisly.
Sorry on bear puns. I couldn't possibly stop until it's done.
Yeah.
Missed it. There was one campaign where Hazen was actually a player.
Rare now.
Yes.
I still hold against him.
What do you hold against me? It didn't come through. At least on my end.
Such as a certain bottle that was supposed to be alcohol.
Ah, yes. My trickster cleric and his battlemaster fighter / Fey warlock decided it would be he thought it would be a good idea to get into a prank war with someone who is literally called by trade a trickster. by a god. Like, the god has blessed
At
him
the beginning.
that he would be a trickster.
And his girlfriend that knows how to teleport around and go through different planes. No,
Yeah, didn't know that back at the beginning.
no.
Yeah, so...
Wanted revenge. Control.
Oh, Brad, I never told you what the final prank that Micah was going to play on you was. Because he basically went, this prank is extremely cruel and evil, I can't do it. Then he revived your family and went, now I can, because my conscience is clear. Would you like to know what that prank was? That, his final wish to Loki for a favor. So, you had been talking a mad amount of shit at me. And I was like, okay, well, if he wants to talk shit, he can eat shit. So Micah prays to Loki. And he burns his Call Upon the Gods feature. It succeeds. He just has to wait for Loki to decide the timing is right for it. But Micah has decided that next time that Hadrian decides to talk shit, he will get his taste buds transported for about 2 hours to the inner colon of a Duragar.
Discussing.
Your audio's breaking up, but your face is telling me that you absolutely thought the idea was a good one.
I'm not gonna lie.
That actually brings up a good question for the crew of us. And Ryan, definitely include yourself because maybe you'll come up with one.
As he's chewing on a cup.
Favorite? Yeah, that too. Favorite instance in any campaign you've been in as a story? I mean, bad incident, good incident, doesn't matter. Your favorite incident. So start with Brad because he just came up and we're having trouble hearing him anyway. Let's give him a chance.
Yeah, you might need to... If
Sit
the
up to
audio
the
problems...
computer.
Yeah, if the problems continue, you may have to exit Discord and come back in. Which is fine.
Or you might just
Like
sit up to the computer so your microphone can hear you.
One was very early on it. Well, okay. I have two. The first,
Yeah, Brad, your audio's acting up. Just relog real quick and see if we can fix that.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. We'll let you
Okay.
know if it messes up again.
So I have two. One is from a campaign we've all been together with, well, the previous group. The other one is from a campaign that I wasn't part of with you guys. I managed to cause a murder, true love, and someone to get rich with a single action. And that was literally the first session as playing as my rogue. I pickpocketed somebody who turned out to be a cleric. And he had been on his way to give a note to the woman he was in love with. And it was basically a check yes or no note. So I had debated on being a dick and checking no ahead of time. Instead, I checked yes, and he slipped it back in his pocket. And he gave it to her, and she thought, I like how assertive he is. You know, he thinks that, yes, I should say yes. So they ended up getting together. It was true love. But then she was a chambermaid for a noble family. And the noble had found the note and thought it was his wife's and thought she was cheating on him. So he went into a rage and tried to murder her. So instead, she killed him in self-defense. But whereas self-defense, she still got their money and title and everything. So true love, a death, and someone got rich.
And all you did was check a note and just let that play out.
I will
Yeah.
say that is a wow.
It would be amazing had you actually planned it.
The other one, I have to say, was Despair. I was playing Hadrian, my half human, half elemental, due to a deal with an Efreet fighter / warlock. And my patron was a Fae. Now, to people who have not played with Fae a lot, they're very tricky. If they get your name, they have power. If you make a deal, it usually comes out in their favor. So, me and Jen had gotten stuck in the past. And see, the problem was we didn't know where we were. We couldn't figure out how to get back. And my patron said, I want you to kill somebody and then I'll send you back. Okay.
I don't remember that part.
It was when we went and killed the priest of Hazen's.
Oh, that's right.
So she sent us after this guy, and I'm like, okay, what information can you tell me? Can you tell me where he is? How many people are there? You know, that kind of stuff. And she says, sure, I'll tell you that if you tell me somebody's name. Now, what she's trying to do was get the name of someone in the group, because if I willingly gave her the name, she would have had power over them. So I was a little shit, and I told her the name Frank. Frank was the Ifrit who had given me the half elemental. Now, Ifrit are borderline god level, because they could cast Wish whenever they want and rewrite the fabric of the universe. They're basically an evil genie. She flips out, says, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. The guy is at my house right now. He's my dinner guest, and he won't leave.
Not only that,
Yeah.
you forgot to mention his interior design choices.
Yes.
And then you already knew her.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that he was either too powerful for her to do anything to, or she would not want to mess with him because of the fact that he likes to make everything gaudy. I'm talking gold, bright colors, everywhere. Just moves into an abandoned town, takes it over. It's now his. It looks ungodly. And so that worked out. I managed to out-talk a Fae. And then, literally a few minutes later, Jen decides to say, this one needs more lessons on talking with Fae. And I'm like, I just got the better end of a deal with a Fae. Don't be talking shit.
Yeah, and that ended well for you, but that's for another time.
Actually, that one didn't.
Granted, my character did not know half of that. So
Yeah.
again, in character, you had been up until that point to her. You had been very liberal with talking
And he
around Faye, so it wasn't obvious that you had.
figured if they kill him, they
heard.
kill him. He doesn't care. He's living for vengeance.
All right. Before another story from one of us goes through, we're going to share Boo Bears here. Boo Bears sold improvised explosive to adventurers and miners for half of their value if bought in bulk, and had everybody sign waivers, which should be completely totally fine given this next part, but apparently the waivers didn't hold up. Despite all that, he was still a wanted man all throughout the continent, because no one was trained in them, and as a result, an entire city met its end at the end of the explosives. So he became a terrorist on accident. Sort of.
Sort of, huh? Wow.
I mean, accidental terrorist, novice explosives dealer. Depends on which side of the spectrum you're on.
I pray Gabi doesn't turn out like that. That would suck.
Thinking Liam.
It was sort of an
That
accident,
works.
according to Boo Bear. I mean, there were waivers signed. They knew they were dealing with dangerous stuff. It's their fault for not paying attention to it. So what if I forgot to mention this stuff was flammable? Boo Bear didn't say
There we
that, just my
go.
little addition.
Jen, I think I'm pointing the right way.
You are not. You are complete opposite.
That way.
There you go.
Listen,
No, I am to your right. I am that way, yes. Jen is above me,
Left.
and then Ryan is above you.
Unfortunately, Hayes, everything's mirrored, so it's not obvious either.
I know, and I know it's mirrored. I'm just messing with him.
who wants to go next?
Because I knew
I
they
want
didn't
to
have...
Ryan's.
Well, one last part. I knew they didn't have any sort of proficiency with explosive, which meant it was a 50-50 chance for them to prematurely detonate, and a lot of people died.
Oh no.
I mean,
I
it
have
wasn't
that
a tough city.
Way to go,
Some
Boo.
chaos. Boo
I have
Bear.
that problem all the time too, but I usually use condoms for it.
Anyway, Ryan, do you have any incident in a session, ours, anybody else's, that tickled your fancy or has stuck with you?
Actually, I do. I'll give one as a DM, one as a player. So
Okay.
I had as a DM. Back in 3.5, I created a event that could be triggered if somebody was really, really dumb. So all 6 of my players
I remember this
decided
story.
to enter this town, and I told them, and there's a sign that literally says that they aren't, that nobody's there, don't touch anything, just go in, talk to you need to do, and leave, because it's a town of souls. That's all it is. They're basically in Helheim, in a town of souls. So what do they immediately do? The rogue goes in, sees a shiny gold fucking coin, picks it up, puts it in his pocket. Everybody
Oh, no.
then, because nothing happens, everybody keeps on just prematurely picking up little things to the point that finally everybody in the party has a piece of this Helheim coin with them and triggers the Blood Red Knight. Every soul turns into a level 10 zombie, and they now have to remember where they got their item from and put it back before they're slaughtered.
Wow.
Good
Ryan?
Lord. Well done on that encounter, though. That is brilliant. But you got to remember,
Bravo.
and you probably know this better than I do, but every time you make a encounter where you're like, only the stupidest of the stupid would even have to deal with this, your players are going to stumble in head first, just la 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 la.
There's always one player. Always one.
Yeah.
All they had to do was just one player had to not touch something. That was it. Just one player had to walk out of this city with nothing in their hands, and the rest of them just would have gotten pissed off souls chasing them down until they put their shit back. But no.
Of course. Boo Bear makes an excellent point that says, only the stupidest of the stupid, aka the party.
Yep.
DMs often look up puzzles for toddlers.
They're the ones that are most
Hey.
reliable.
Love the fact that you incorporated Nordic mythology to play a Nordic campaign.
Your audio's cutting out again. We can't hear a single thing you're saying. I heard Nordic
I heard
mythology.
fine.
Oh, okay.
I heard most of it.
I was saying I love the fact that he played Nordic because I want to play in a Nordic campaign so bad. I loved playing Greek because Greek mythology knowledge is just bouncing around in here constantly.
I'd be careful saying the words "I love playing Greek."
Anyways,
And to anybody who gets worried about that, I literally have 2 Greeks right above me.
Yes.
So it's
But,
okay. I've got
like,
Greek friends.
I love Greek mythology. So I've read way too much of it, looked up too much of it. But at the same time, I love Nordic mythology. Basically, just mythology in general. So I want to play a Nordic campaign so badly.
I can eventually see you playing as a Beowulf style character, Brad. Really, I can.
I would
I would
love.
love. I make my own mead.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to play like a law or no, an Oath of the Crown Paladin under tier. That would be such a good
That could be
character
fun.
to make.
Um,
You can only use one-handed weapons. That would be my self-imposed rule.
God, you could play Skald Bards, you could play Berserker Barbarians, and it'd fit perfectly. I mean, there's just so many opportunities, and they had so many cool monsters.
Yep.
At the same time, most of those monsters weren't created because the King of the Gods couldn't keep it in his pants.
You're talking. Okay, you switched from Norse back to Greek. Yeah, no.
I'm saying, like, as a comparison.
Why? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna disable that because he's not really spamming. Where's my Cloudbot?
It's in Cloudbot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apologies, Bot is being a
Boo,
little
Boo Bear,
unfair
I'm sorry
with
that
people.
Cloudbot is bullying you. This is a bullying-free zone. Paragraph protection. Turn
Sure.
that off.
Yes.
But
Damn you, bot. It's fine.
But
Okay. Cloudbot should be should stop picking on you unless I have to like restart it or something like that. At which point,
No, it's good.
you're SOL.
So everything you just send again because
Let's find out. Just gonna get as a paragraph. Oh no, we actually got it. There's also
There
the
we
time
go.
we helped start a goblin rebellion. They fought the giants who were oppressing them, and we did not even attempt to save any of the goblins. Well, no.
Okay.
That's about
No, that's how you
we're
play the
feeling
one.
right now in your other campaign is
Yeah, that's how you play the 1%. You get the people to rise up against people that aren't you, and once again, a lot of people die. Well, yeah, it's goblins versus giants. That's like sending a bunch of ants after a person. The ants might finally stop him, but the goblins will die.
Okay, so I want to throw this out here and ask if Hazen and Jen remember this. I'm just going to throw out a vague reference, and I want to see if you guys remember it. A lich, a cleric, an assassin, a fighter, and a ranger, and a 10-year-old girl walk into an abandoned town. They all leave high.
God,
They didn't walk into an
yes.
abandoned town. We went to a town. They were like, hey, we've got a lich problem. We were like, oh, okay, we're going to go see about that lich problem. We go, we eventually find the lich through his enchanted mist and all that kind of crap. The fighter and the assassin, I believe, both get charmed. I walk in, I manage to put down a magic circle which blocks the possession that the lich is doing. One of us has to roll a percentage for some reason. We roll a 24, but the 4 was in front of the 20. And
I asked Loki for help.
yeah. And so I think everybody but Jen's character was just blazed out of their minds.
Including
Yes,
a child.
and it was difficult to bring 3 people that were all over. I believe it was 150
right.
pounds each, and then a 10-year-old girl. And my character is a Naga-ish woman. Think of a Marlith minus some of the arms. So human top, snake bottom. She's trying to carry all of that back to the horses. Well, what were in our case guard drakes. We just used them as mounts.
Also, I like that nobody
What
talks.
happened then?
Yeah, I like that nobody talks about how much of a degenerate Micah was. That he's just like sees a Naga and he's like, "Yep, that does it for me." Like that's what I need.
Hey, at least you didn't have to risk killing anybody you slept with. Whereas Hadrian would have been more of a hoe.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure Micah sleeping around was a big problem. Like, I feel like it was more of a problem than Hadrian's.
Oh, I mean, Hadrian never destroyed a universe, potentially, because he couldn't keep it in his pants.
Boomer says, then there was the time we joined a secret society and bought all the king's guard. We were the good guys and everything. We turned into the Godfather in like 2 sessions. Oh man, that sounds like fun too.
Okay. Hazen, what was your favorite story?
Okay. So, my favorite story, I'd have to say, as a DM, it's tied. But I think the one that beats it out would have to be Liam meeting his father.
Oh, when you had me
that
fucking
was
kill
a good
him?
one.
Yeah, so Liam was orphaned at a young age, found in the arms of his mother's corpse by a dwarf named No, it wasn't Belvin. That was Thorin. Thorin.
Thorin.
Belvin was the other story. That was the second one. That was the close one because I love Belvin and I love what I did with him and I love the effect that he had on the party. This one just hit hard because this is the story that broke Brad into just like going into RP. Brad always seemed a little trepidatious with RP. He was very, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to make sure I do this. And it was never just enjoy the story for the story. So he finally meets with his father, a very elderly man who has a very long history of being a warrior. A man who has now shut himself up because he is becoming dementia-addled and can no longer be the fit leader that the people need him to be. And he knows that they need a figurehead to watch over. This man treats everybody in the party to a dinner in his longhouse and eventually brings everybody into his library before asking everybody to leave, except for Liam. Liam and him go through a secret bookcase through a portal that leads into the forest nearby, outside of the city walls and everything else. The father this was a one-on-one I had with him. Nobody actually knew what was going on between me and Brad.
He pulled me off to the side, and I just want to throw this out here before he goes too far. I have not cried. I was born. Me in tears with this, guys.
Yep.
I remember when you came back, you had red all over your face.
Brad, real quick relog because your audio is doing it again. For me, unfortunately. I did not. I was never told that fact though, Brad, that you are not someone who cries often, if ever.
Let's put it this way. My family, very much like that for all the men. My grandmother has been married to my grandfather for over 40 years. The one time she saw him get red in the face was when his mother died. She's never seen him cry.
Gotcha.
So, I'm Mr.
Wow.
I don't show emotion well. So, when I say I was almost in tears from the pain that my character was going through, because just for reference, guys, Liam was the character I based off myself. He was short. Okay, I made him a lot more intelligent than I actually am. But his personality and stuff like that was more based off me. He's nervous around attractive women. He is kind of withdrawn emotionally. He's always worried about helping other people, but he's not good at explaining why. He just walks up and he comes across as an asshole because he's like, you could try and do this. It might work better. So here I am. I have tied myself to this character because I want to play him to the full extent.
And I just grab your heart out of your chest and go.
Then this shit happens. So continue on and tell him how you almost destroyed me as a person as well.
So that's the real reason why this is my favorite. It's just because Brad was the least to ever show visceral reactions, and I could tell he was upset. Which was brave of me considering I was in his bedroom and I know he has guns in there. But
I like to shoot.
Don't give us that look, Ryan. We were at his house for this session.
yeah, no, I'm the normal kind of hoe. I break his heart in the bedroom. Anyway, so in this forest with Liam's father, he is told by Liam that he is still a warrior at heart despite his age, and he was always wanting a warrior's death. Liam thought he was challenging him, and Liam was like, I'm not going to fight you. And he goes, no, you're not. The father reaches in very sneakily, because he still has a bit of what he used to have, and grabs a card from what Liam has is a cursed deck of many things, a deck that refreshes and has to be drawn from once a month, else it will draw itself whenever it decides is the opportune time.
Now, Hazen, you're making this a little less emotionally hitting. Let him draw.
Huh? Oh, you did let him draw? That's my bad if I forgot.
Too. What you're carrying. Now, this deck had nearly killed me several times, including by a talking raccoon.
Yep. So no, he is completely and totally right. The father asked to draw from the deck, just kind of to see his luck and stuff like that.
It's so hard to be there to fight if something came through.
Yep. Liam had readied himself. He was going to fight. He was going to help his father. And as soon as the father drew the card, he actually did get the card he wanted, which was the skull card. He put a hand to Liam's chest, and Liam returned to the library. The bookshelf was closed, and no book he could rip off of the shelves would open up and reveal that portal again. Liam was never there for his father's passing, and someone had to be sent to go retrieve the remains. But not only did this affect the other members of the party, Ryan's sitting there up there going, "Oh no, what did I get myself into?" Yeah, it was that's when Brad finally and completely became his character.
Yeah, he did.
Backstory on.
I don't know why your audio's messing up for me.
It's okay for me. I don't know about the
Yeah.
rest of you.
Well, that's the problem is, like, I have to be the one to hear him.
True.
Raised by Thorin. Or very much raised to be a just taller than average dwarf. He's human. by Durgar. Or
For Brad, you're gonna have to relog. I'm sorry. I hate that I have to keep doing that to you. But
welcome to the realities of trying to stream for everybody.
that is true.
Okay.
Basically, to catch up real quick, he had said that he was raised by this dwarf named Thorin, and the Thorin would be the first father that he was nearby but not there to witness the death of.
Thorin had made him run away,
Yep.
and it had haunted him that he hadn't stayed to try and save him. Like as he was running, stuff that Thorin had said, "Take this and go." Take his invention from falling in their hands. Father try and fight and be brutally murdered, and then in this town that apparently his family is the nobles of. It's his brother. He meets his sister. His sister's very standoffish, and his brother kind of just is like, "Wait, you're still alive." They bonded because there was a festival going on, and there's a lot of shit. It's obvious that he was part of the family, wanting to build inroads with him. Actively lets his father commit suicide. The body, because it's actually in Hades, because this was a Greek-based, where at his mother met them that night.
Mm-hmm.
His sister. They just hear him screaming from inside this room. No. Gotta get back to him. He's in this room trying to find the secret door to the what he thinks is a tunnel, not room.
Mm-hmm.
He finds out what happens, and he just slugs him, crashing down on him that he just found his family. There's murder. Lost the remaining two. Him back around and do something like this. Before the town finds out.
Yep. Your sister, however, did understand. The sister knew about the whole plan. And she let you know about that. But the brother very much had a very terrible reaction, punched you in the face, and blamed you. You're not sure if he's forgiven you, or if anything happened before
We never got a chance to send word back.
Yep. He's armed with Flame Tongue. He should be fine.
I will say, in all of the campaigns I've been in, I find the marks of some of the best DMs to be the amazing storytellers and the ones that will get you to really personalize your character to the point where you will viscerally react to what happens to your character. They make you cry, they make you laugh, they make you want to punch their lights out. Those are the fantastic DMs, I find.
And someday I'll be one. But
you're getting there.
The other time I made the party cry, this isn't my the other favorite time I'm gonna bring up. That's gonna be one where I'm a player. But the other one, I had this dwarven I'm worried about the laugh. I have this dwarven barbarian. Was one of my NPCs. His name was Belvin. He guarded a mountain keep, and was very. Sorry about that. He got on a mountain keep. He was very jovial. He was very happy. He lived by himself with his owl bear named Pookie. And he grew his own wine as best he could on the side of the mountain, and everything seemed wonderful about him until they go to the top of the mountain, which hadn't been open in many years, and they found there was a schoolroom. Well, an old goddess had been trapped in the mountain, and the mountain has a special metal that is very, very toxic to celestials and blocks a lot of their powers. She had made her way into that mountain and become trapped, and she tried through the sacrifice of children to continue her power, but she was ended then and there by the guards that had shown up. One of the children there had been Belvin's son, And they also had learned that Belvin's ex-wife runs the tavern slash temple to Hephaestus at that place, and that she had tried everything she could, but the fact that he was so unwilling to heal and he was just going to bury everything, she couldn't handle it anymore, and she had to leave. She had to cope and heal on her own, and him being there wasn't helping with it. And the party come to talk to Belvin. They let him know. They give him art that the child had drawn before anything had happened, because Belvin had not wanted to step foot up there. And they actually ended up rekindling Belvin's relationship with his ex-wife, and though it hurts, he is starting to actually heal from it, and he's going to be able to actually move on. And I don't know when we're getting back to that campaign again, but it will be revealed when we do that Belvin and the wife tried and had another child.
I would love to get back to that campaign. That was and still is a lot of fun.
Yep. My favorite story, however, as a player, and there are quite a few I can go from, but I'm going to pick my second character. Oh, go ahead.
Not the lessons, please. I don't think we could. I don't think I could push any harder from
I'm
that
not
one.
ever sharing that story. Nope. That is a story between the players. No, it is Sazix. Sazix was my Yuan-Ti pureblood sorcerer. He wore 2 cloaks. He had a very gaunt, almost corpse-like appearance, and he was a very nervous guy, and he just wanted everybody to be helped as much as he can, but he was sure that everybody would leave after he was done being useful. That kind of person. Well, Sazix has started to come to his own with meeting this party, with exploring his powers and everything like that. Well, one day, Sazix and his party get tracked down by an inquisitor who hunts down people who are not of the common races because they are seen as freaks and need to be euthanized. Well, she had a large Arctic direwolf, one that had its own ice powers. Sazix noticed that the direwolf took orders from the woman with great understanding and great success. So I asked, wait, do I think that the wolf understands common? The DM goes, yes. I go, great. I'm casting suggestion. He goes, what? I say, yes. I'm going to look at that thing, bare my fangs, the eyes go to snake-like slits, and just go, run, pointing to the north. And this large creature that was part of this, like, you can't beat encounter that was just supposed to scare us, takes off sprinting north. And my character was, like, all happy and good, and then the woman comes over and with one sword strike drops him. And
I remember that.
That's still going to be one of my favorite things because even after playing a trickster cleric, it let me know that all kinds of charms are useful, and that pay attention to the wording of spells and then to situations. If a creature does understand common, then 9 times out of 10 they can be charmed, unless an intelligence or wisdom problem specified in the spell says that they can.
For those of you out there who might be newbies or may not understand what suggestion is, it's a spell that has a duration of 8 hours. So this thing ran north for 8 hours.
Or until they canceled the spell.
Sazix never canceled the spell, and the DM allowed it to continue because he needed a way for us to survive the counter. So it took 16 hours, or well, roughly around 12 to 16 hours for her to get her mount back finally. And by that time, she had to let it rest because it was exhausted.
I cannot believe I forgot one of my favorite moments, and it was from Despair. When I out-lawyered the universe.
Your favorite moments seem to involve you tricking people.
Yep, most times.
Why did you play a Tempest Cleric?
Bullshit. Back to Hadrian. Was half elemental. At the
You're breaking up again. You're long pauses without hearing anything.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so this is Hadrian. He was half elemental, fire elemental, And the DM allowed me to have an ability where I teleported to the fire plane. Now, when I teleported to the fire plane, I came back to the same spot. Here we are, we're in a subplane of hell. It was Hazen, and Jen, Angie, who left, and our DM at the time was Nate, the guy playing Jay. Now, he was also playing a character because we needed someone to round out the group. So, his character got sick, but we were on a time crunch to save somebody. We only had 6 days total, and we were 3 days in. It would take 3 days to get back to the portal and save Nate's character's life, but if we did that, we wouldn't have time to save the character we were going for. So we're frantically trying to figure out, we were even considering the cardinal sin of D&D, splitting the party. You don't split the party, folks. Do not do it. It will end badly. I can preach that from experience because I've had several characters almost die because of it. Because I
will say this: it all depends on the DM. It will always depend on the DM. If the DM is absolutely fantastic and nice, it doesn't always matter.
Yeah, but the great DMs aren't always nice. You can't be too nice. You need there to be that moment of, oh shit, am I going to die? So we were considering that. We were thinking one of us, we had a bag of holding, but at the same time that was unreliable because a bag of holding is a space, like a pocket dimension, but there's only enough air for like 10 minutes per person, something like that. So we were trying to figure it out because even being in the bag of holding, because we had something that would allow you to breathe, it wouldn't keep him from dying. So we keep trying to figure out, and I just look at the DM with a shit-eating grin and say, hey, Nate, the bag of holding is a pocket dimension, right? Yeah. So it's its own plane of reality, right? Yeah. And Jen tries to get me back on topic. Brad, come on, we need to focus. A little less ADHD at the moment. And then our DM just goes, no, I know where he's going with this, and it's really convoluted, but this is going to work. And everybody looks at me so confused.
Well, because Brad is the king of throwing. Brad does ideas like I do jokes. He throws out a million of them. One of them has to stick eventually.
I ended up going into the bag of holding, the fire plane, back into the. Stopped getting sick. Make sure they didn't need us. I outlawyered the universe. Feels.
I want to hear Ryan's now.
That's right. We only let him do his DM one.
Right. What's your favorite as a character? If you
Hang
can
around.
That was my fucking bad.
Didn't bug me. How dare you talk about things?
Right.
Player though, it wasn't in D&D. It was actually in a White Wolf campaign by the name of the World of Darkness. And the World of Darkness is a bump in the night freaking setup. So werewolves, vampires, Cthulhu exists, all the fun things. And so I'm sitting there as a player, and I'm what's called a hunter. So exactly what it sounds like. And I went into a werewolf den of a bunch of feral werewolves. In other words, they belong to no pack. They have no lead. They're just a bunch of people, and that's it. So I walked into the middle of them, and I went, who's the strongest of you guys? And then a bunch of them keep on chiming up, and I just started shit and literally had the entire pack slaughter themselves.
Need to remember to try that in Angie's campaign.
Boo Bear, I'm sorry we haven't gotten around to you. There's so many stories to be told, but he continued his. It's like, so yeah, we paid off all the town's guard, then some of the king's guard, no personal bodyguards, just castle guards, sent people threats, and suddenly the guard would show up to catch criminals, aka smugglers we helped supply by telling him our excess weapons selling him our excess weapons and armor we got from adventures. He was supplying our competitors in part of the campaign, so we had him arrested. Wow, talk about a split.
Oh, it's great. Real quick, I'm putting a link in the chat. This is to a friend of mine who is a graphic designer. Her name is, I probably am butchering this because I've never actually spoken face to face with her, but her name is Alia Jones. She does graphic design. You could check her Instagram. She has actually posted our logo as one of the work she's done. She does absolutely fantastic work. I am extremely happy with what has been done with the logo. She's actually going above and beyond. She's noticed that it doesn't quite fit for YouTube. She's going to resize it for us and send it to us to make sure it fits. So she's absolutely wonderful. She's been my friend for a fucking decade. If you need a logo or anything like that, check it out, hit her up. It's definitely worth what you're paying.
Yeah,
So-
thank you. It looks fantastic. I love the look of it. I really do.
Yep, and she's probably gonna watch us on YouTube, so hi from the past. But yep. So we didn't get to do a session Friday. I haven't yet put her thing up on our info so that people can check it out whenever. But here is the beginning of it. Here's a shout out for her. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you again. But yeah,
Also, if
I
you
do love
didn't
that
know,
story.
since
Bluebear.
we
Sorry.
like say sorry, Taze, I didn't mean to interrupt. Like say also, if you didn't know, like say Twitch has a, I don't know if you call it an algorithm. We're only allowed to archive so many days worth of videos in the channel. So if you haven't had an opportunity to see session 1, it is uploaded currently to our YouTube channel, Role Performance, ROLE Performance, and say go and watch it. And say it's fantastic. I'm enjoying myself so very much in this campaign. It's not even funny.
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying the whole streaming aspect of things too. It makes for a lot of fun, and we're probably not gonna reach Critical Role or DCA or any of those levels. But if we can entertain 5 people a week with this show, I'm gonna call it a success.
And I mean, at the same time, guys, you know, if playing this game,
You're breaking up, so they're not hearing the wonderful, heartfelt thing you have to say about them. Oh, speaking of which, the YouTube channel got a new subscriber 20 minutes ago.
Yay!
So
What
if
are
you
we
want-
up to now?
Yeah.
12 or 13?
I think it's 13, so if you're watching, Victor, yep, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. This is fantastic.
So, my big thing, and the reason why I love doing this so much, is I love this game. I'm constantly talking about it at work. I sell cell phones, so not really tied into my job. But the thing was for me, I always wanted to play. I didn't know that it was available in my hometown. Like there was a place people went and played this. So if we can spawn interest in people and have them go out looking for this, you know, it's a great way to meet people. I mean,
Definitely.
most of this group, I'm still getting to know Ryan. I like him, but I consider most of this group some of my best friends. You know, it's one of those things of if I need to talk to somebody, I know I can reach out to them. If I'm going through some shit, you know, I know they'll have my back. So it's a great way to meet people. If you want a creative outlet, but you're not that artistically inclined, you know, you can't draw, you can't paint, you don't know how to weld, any of that stuff. Here's a way.
Especially
You
theater
want to
kids.
read.
I was a theater kid
Yeah.
growing up, and this brings out a lot of the fun of it.
Quiet girl.
Yeah, my voice is a lot different from when I did theater. I used to be able to do much higher pitched voices, but then puberty hit me. And now I have these sweet, dulcet tones.
You say, Bo.
That's why Crystal sounds like a dwarf that's had 7 packs of cigarettes a day, even though she is a 7-foot woman. Or no, did I say 7 feet? Yes, I did.
Basically, to sum up, we're potentially teaching some people who play some new out suggestions to us that we've never thought of. Our minds work differently, but even if we just interested in this and they decide to go out and try,
I will say that's actually how I got started into D&D. Is I watched a stream from another group on Twitch. It's had a few people that I admire highly playing it. I got so into the game. I actually was watching it for about a year and a half at that point, and then I finally said to myself, "Screw it, I want to try this." And that's where I found our local game shop. Met a whole bunch of new people, including Brad Hazen and a few others. Got my first character started playing, and I had a fun time. And I will admit, at the first, I was one of those people that thought that, roll top RPG games like this were kind of like bottom of the nerd barrel. I have never been more wrong. This has been a wonderful creative outlet to get me away from like the stresses in my life, and it gives me opportunity to, how do I say this? To maybe, try out a different personality once in a while with a different character, step outside myself, try something. You never know. Like say, this is one of those games that just lets everybody's creative juices flow, and I absolutely love it. I will, recommend it highly to everybody from here on out. I love it.
I use my characters to get through day-to-day life. A more confident person, step into the mindset of my rogue, charismatic. What would Vax do in this situation? To be a little more aggressive, I step into Hadrian. So it's one of those. It's actually helped me come out of my shell because I can just fully appreciate this game. Your character. A personality disorder with it, but allow yourself to flow with these people.
Yep. Or else the DM will take you to the side in your own bedroom and break your heart right in front of you and then tell you, all right, go play with others. You will feel, damn it.
What you guys may pick up through the stream is I'm very much a resting bitch face person. And I don't show empathy. I went into empathy sales at one point, and I absolutely sucked at it. I'm good at retail. A warlock in real life because I addict, but I don't realize I'm doing it. One of those. This game has helped me come out of my shell a lot. Do it, guys. It's so much fun. People.
I will say I would even plug this to young children some point now because
Maybe not
from
our
what I
streams
do
with all the
understand,
Our
curses we do.
stream, no.
right, not like this, but from what I do understand, recently Wizards of the Coast has put together a type of class built specifically for young ones. They are not plugging us. I'm just,
I don't think it's a class.
plugging. We could do this.
They've created like handbooks and stuff like that, like monster manuals.
That, yes.
Basically just everything
young
that we
ones.
have, but yeah, geared towards the younger ones. And I think it's great that I'm glad that D&D is blowing up the way it is, and I'm really glad that it's being made so that anybody of any age group could enjoy it. Whether you were around for first edition or if you're like, my wife and I, and 5th edition is where you first jumped in feet first.
Who would expect that this is what they used to say was a satanic cult? That doesn't.
Yeah, really.
At all.
I mean, honestly.
Yep. All right. I'm starting to get a bit peckish. Like, do we want to keep going and I just go grab a snack real quick, or what's the feeling in the room?
Do whatever you want to do, Hayes, and I've actually got a snack next to me. You could just tap out of the video for a few minutes.
Actually, getting a little hungry too. I haven't eaten since noon.
Okay. Do we want to call a break? Do we want to just call it here? Like, does anybody have more stuff they like definitely plan on sharing?
How about we just take a break for like 10 minutes or so?
I mean,
Okay.
Ryan could give us some grooming tips.
Yes. Everybody knows that chewing on the comb imbues it with power.
Play
All right.
nice, you two.
Real
It's
quick,
not
I
that
want-
bad.
Actually, I can't tell that joke on live. Never mind, because it involves a character from a very, very popular. So I don't want to get. I will just share it with everybody on the. Go ahead. Later on, I will share it with. Um. Guys, are we calling it a night?
We're gonna call a break right now. We'll come back and if after a bit we feel like we've exhausted everything we can for right now, then we'll call it then.
Okay.
But we'll take 10 or so minutes and we'll be back. So see you all in a bit.
See you guys in a little bit. Oops.
That's fine. But all right, we are back with snacks and food and such. I have made the soupiest eggs I possibly could.
Doesn't matter if we're characters, people. We are still people.
Yep. But anyway, Jen, you have yet to tell us about characters.
Damn it, there's too many. I will say the one thing that I don't really always worry about characters. The one thing I was always told is pick your race first. I am not one of those people. I pick my class first, and then I try to find the most ironic race to fit that class. So I will have some of the most ridiculous combinations. Was in the second campaign I was with Hazen and everybody else, minus Ryan. Her name, and I will fully dock that I stole the name, and I will say why. Her name is Primrose. Yes, she is based off of the character of the same name from Octopath Traveler. I have not finished that game. I need to get back to it. And she is also a bard. She is a dancer. But here's the fun part, and I like combining references, I suppose is the best way to put it. I loved the idea from Dumbo when he has the kind of like hallucination dream when he's got, anyway, anybody who wants to watch the movie, they can watch it. It's the animated version, not the recent CG version. The Pink Elephants on Parade variety. So I have a pink elephant dancing bard named Primrose, and she was an attempt of mine to make a confident character. It was the wrong campaign. That turned into the wrong campaign for that to happen. She started confident. She still is. I will happily play her anytime again. But I never expected her to turn into such a crybaby. I really did not expect that at all.
Well, I mean, when her best friend dies, or is set to die in front of her, and everybody she knows from the college she was a part of goes up in a holy hellfire, it kind of hurts characters. It kind of hurts them on the inside.
That was one of my first times I actually physically cried for my character. I could not hold it in. It was horrible. I like Primrose, like I say, but there was another one that, like Brad said, that he based Liam off of him. Very much Avani from our Despair campaign. Nate was our DM. And this was the first campaign I did with Nate as a DM. She was very naive, and it showed in a lot of her interactions. And even though she is my strongest character, I still love the stories that I got out of her. One in particular being, I actually based her off of a combination of the 3.5 D&D Wiki Naga race and a couple others, and Nate was more than happy to help me kind of drop it from being so OP as it was to something a little more realistic for a level 1 to level 4 character at the time. And the thing that was in there that I loved is that she was also able to breathe water, not just air. So there was an instance where I had Hazen's character Micah, who is the trickster cleric, and Angie's character, she was what do they call it race again? Tabaxi? Yes. Tabaxi. She was a Tabaxi rogue. We'd gone off into the woods together to do some stuff. And toward the end of it, Avani wanted to surprise Micah because she was starting to have feelings for him. So she wraps him up in her coils and then dives into the water and sinks toward the bottom. And this whole time, I don't think Micah had realized it. She doesn't look like she's breathing. And yet at the same time, she's just kind of staring at him like, does he notice? Does he notice? Does he notice? He doesn't.
Well, Micah probably noticed. That doesn't mean he understood, because at that time his passive perception was well over 20.
Well, that's true. So, and finally, it's like she just kind of gives him this big grin and just breathes out all this air and takes a big gulp of air back in and then smiles at him again and then takes off, like circling him in loops while she's swimming. And she comes up and he said, I can't remember how Mike had put it. It was something along the lines of, how did you do that or something?
It was probably along the lines, of, but more like that was incredible. I can't believe you could do that, or I didn't know you could do that.
And it was part of her backstory that part of her backstory was that she had been enslaved by some Yuan Ti in the area and had been conditioned to believe that she was one. And one way that she had found that she wasn't, unlike other, what she considered Yuan Ti, was that she was actually able to swim and breathe underwater. So swimming was her escape for however long she had when they would let her do things. So I enjoyed playing Avani very, very much. Naivete and all. I really enjoyed her a lot.
And after seeing that, Micah took the very first opportunity he could to get a cloak of the Manta Ray, and he wore that cloak until the very end of the campaign, just in case there was any time he needed to go swimming with Avani, he could.
Never mind the time that we actually had to escape some krakens to get her mom's what was it? Her artifact back.
Basically,
Oh
her
god, Nate,
Tesseract.
I hated Nate. I hated Nate during that session. I really did.
Hey Hazen, during that escape, how much of it did you spend cracking jokes?
Not because that was you two. You two did all the jokes.
I think that one got past her. Kraken
Not surprising.
jokes.
Yeah, I got the Kraken jokes.
I know.
Hello, everybody. I'm the least funny of the group. I have such a dry sense of humor. It goes past me in five different directions.
It's not that you're the least funny, you're the least likely to make a joke, but that makes whatever you do make a joke amazing. Including the fact, I don't know if you remember exactly what you said, but speaking of Avani, you called Hadrian trash in such a way that, like, everybody at the table just,
Oh no, I remember that. It was they were at the stable. She was trying to teach because they had, I believe she and he were the only two that still had guard drakes that were alive. Probably.
Yep.
There's a story behind that story. But she was teaching them how to breathe an element because she'd given them potions that would give them kind of like true dragon capabilities. And while she's trying to get Hadrian to come calm his drake down, even though she has fantastic animal handling, it just didn't work this time. He has, unknown to her, gone off and done a drug disposal drop, whatever you want to call it.
Disposal. I was getting rid of them so no kids would get a hold of them. That's my story,
That's
and
what
I'm
he said.
sticking to it.
And
The
she
bad
happens
news had
to
nothing to
come
do with
in and she sees that the stable master and he have got this look about her, and she turns and she looks at Hadrian, and I cannot this was her in my head. A lot of my characters will speak for themselves in my head, and I'm not, schizophrenic or anything by any means, but they have their own personalities. They talk to me. Anyway, not the point. She had said to me, tell him I say something about, oh God, I had it and I lost it, damn it.
You explained too much.
Oh, she said, some hero. And I remember seeing every face at the table, jaws drop, eyes wide. They're like, what? And saying,
Yes,
the
we
minute I
did
said
recognize
that,
him,
that was my proudest moment for Avani. It's
That
like,
was great.
yeah, that was her. That was all her.
And I'm just sitting there like, yes, because not being here while she's trying to dick around with my Drake, whenever I'm not in the room, is my fault.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, well, that was Avani.
Yeah.
I don't DM as a general rule. I find that I sometimes feel like I don't have the necessary people skills to do it properly. I feel more like I could create the world and hand it off to somebody else if they wanted to try. But me personally, I'm just not a DM mindset. But the few times that I've jumped in to help either, one of our DMs or the other get through a hard spot, or I took over for a few weeks or so just to help with burnout. And yes, people, it will happen. I would strongly recommend that if you feel the need, help your DM through those times, because it's not always easy to get through it. I would say my favorite part as a temporary DM would be same campaign again, Despair, and was Avani. Would have been when I had her come back from, I'm trying to think, we were outside the Mithril Tower and still had the airship.
I think I know the story you're about to tell.
And a portal opens in front of Hadrian, and Avani's in the arms of this, what I had described to be similar as like a humanoid form that looks very much like the pink goo from Ghostbusters. So it's very pink with silver vein running through it. And this thing begins to speak to Hadrian while this thing looks like it's holding a dead Avani in its hands. And Hadrian freaked out.
I was civil with it. It was just I was worried about her, so I did what I could to take care of her.
If I remember correctly, and if I'm remembering incorrectly, please interrupt. I think you had said you'd done something along the lines of you tried to cut this thing's arms off, and the minute you cut this thing's arms, she dropped, and luckily she dropped in such a way that didn't hurt her anymore. But she had turned over, and she basically was spitting out like silver globs of whatever this thing had covered her in.
I never attacked it.
You hit it in such a way that it like the gelatinous arms had like disconnected somehow.
No,
if I'm thinking of it wrong, I can't remember.
What happened was it was falling apart because it was away from its origin.
That may have been it too.
But
This was a creation of Nate's that was apparently Avani had a connection with the best way I can think to describe it is a sentient dimension. Like the dimension itself has, a consciousness, and its name was Neff.
It was crazy.
what I ended
Yes.
up doing, so I had lost my arm. In an
That's
attempt,
right. You did have a web arm at that point. I forgot about that.
and to heal her faster, Avani needed to be covered in a paste, and she couldn't be pressed up against anything else. And I'm like, I start thinking, a lot of cultures use spider web as gauze. So what I did was I slathered her in the paste, and then used my web arm to wrap her up and keep it from getting tainted by anything that was on the ground. Because we had just royally got our asses handed to us there. I actually
we
died.
had.
She died. One person got turned into a statue. And I don't know where Hazen got sent to. So what ended up, I made a deal with my patron to come back, and it was the arm. So I was constantly on the lookout for anybody else, because I hid that arm from the rest of the group for, I think,
Quite
about
a bit,
2
actually.
seconds.
Yeah,
For
you
a
did.
while. I'd gotten my hands on a cloak, and I kept it covered until finally, just in one session, I said, you know what? Because the arm could be used similar to Thorn Whip. That was the first time they ever saw it, was I just whipped the shit out of an enemy. And they're like, what the hell is that?
Excuse
Because
me.
I had private messaged everything to Nate,
Yep.
Yeah.
to our DM, so that I wasn't just saying to the group, hey, I want to do this, I want to do this. I wrapped my arm. Stuff like that. So that was probably the sneakiest moment of the campaign on my behalf.
I don't know. To be honest, I couldn't tell you.
But, alright, anybody else have any more character stories or anything else like that?
I guess I do have one question, and I don't know if you want to mute yourself or not mute, but deafen yourself for this one, Hazen, because it might affect future for us. It's up to you, but you can decide to mute yourself maybe after I ask the question, though.
You said to mute myself or deafen myself?
Deafen yourself.
I can't really deafen myself. Actually, I can. I'm just gonna turn off all of my audio on my computer.
Or you can just take your headphones off, maybe, just for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, just Facebook message me when I can come back on.
Gotcha. So, Brad, given the campaign so far, what is something you seriously hope to see either happen or come alive for Corinth?
something I've actually talked to Hazen about is part of his backstory. Which, guys, I understand a lot of us haven't touched on backstory much. I'd like to see something that had to do with his original, like his past, come about. And I won't go too in detail. Basically, he was part of a group. Not going to specify what type. I'd like to have a story arc centered around that group in a number of different ways. So, not really something we need Hazen not to hear. Because let's be honest, whenever he posts it on Facebook, he's going to hear all of this. But I've already touched on it a little bit with him as part of potentially, like, because to the new people out there who may watch us sometime in the future, a lot of DMs will try and incorporate some sort of arc for your characters. That way, you know, you each get a chance to tie yourself more to the campaign. So
It's all on how your DM works. Every DM has their own style. Could be the same way Brad's describing. Could be, I'm an absolute rules lawyer. You will absolutely, you know, not cross me type. It takes all types for DMs. I'm just not one.
yeah, but I've played with a number of different ones, and typically it's a standard trope that they'll do either long or short campaign arc, even just a mission that has to tie back to your backstory in some way. It makes you more invested.
I'll agree to that. I enjoy when we've had like the small arcs, especially Alex's campaign. That was kind of fun. Even if mine was like the very last one before we went in and had to deal with the
I came
Dragon
late
Prince
to really
joke.
have one with that one. But hold on, I'm going to message Hazen and tell him to get back on here.
I would say for me, I would love to see Norik. I don't know. I mean, he is the youngest so far in my head, youngest by like time that he's been in my head. So I want to see how much his personality develops. I mean, so far he seems like very, I don't know what the word would be, congenial. It's like he doesn't want to make people angry. He's not willing to speak against anybody yet. But he's always really curious. Like when Gario grabbed his hand when he was trying to, you know, heal himself with the Jurassica symbol. It's like, you know, why is this guy so afraid? That kind of thing. I think he's always going to be the curious type, but I'm really curious to see like how he progresses as a personality.
Yeah.
Like the other ones.
I'm going to pull him back real quick.
Yep, I'd say that's good.
But see, with Corin, he is very much a I will risk myself, but don't you dare risk other people for no reason.
Yeah, I can see Ryan being exactly that. That's what scares me because it seems like his character is becoming the de facto leader. Am I wrong?
What I was saying, Hazen, is we were talking about our characters a little bit. Personally, I could.
everything. No, I'm just kidding.
You're going to whenever you post this on YouTube, anyways.
But if he
But-
decides to watch it afterwards, but you're just giving him ammo now.
Basically, for Corin, his big thing is I'll risk myself. Don't you dare risk other people for no reason. You have to have a valid reason to risk these people's life. We've talked about his backstory a little bit, and that ties into it. He's very much a you take care of your people and your teammates. Sacrificing is fine. Don't try and sacrifice others.
And with me, basically the question I asked is, what did either of us want to see or have happen with the character going forward? And I basically just said I hope to see, you know, Norik's personality grow a little more. He seems like curious, congenial, kind of like not wanting to step on people's toes for the wrong reason. And it's like I like the character. I think he's really charming, but I'm wondering like how deep he's going to get. So it's really interesting to see him as like the youngest character so far in my head, how far that'll go.
Well, only time will be able to tell, and you all will react to the things that I throw at you in an attempt to either make an interesting story or just simply murder everyone.
Or break us in half like you've done more times than I can count.
If we don't post it on here, I am keeping a kill count from now on.
First of all, Jen, I will ask you to not phrase it that way again.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, first of all, you're upselling me way better than I am, but second of all, just.
But that's not how everybody understands. It's like, I am the least tactful. I have the least control of the brain to mouth function. I apologize in advance to anybody on stream ever. I apologize in advance.
Okay, now
Just means
I've
that
got
people are going to write
you
some
for
very
that.
interesting fan fiction that I'm going to make you read on stream one day.
I've got
I
to
hope
challenge
they do.
you for that title because I think that I could go toe to toe.
Let's not trade ranking right now. I do not want to have that title to begin with.
I think that is a wonderful place to stop it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that that sums up the pinnacle of what we are and what we stand for. So, thank you everybody who came to watch. We're thinking of making this kind of a weekly thing after the Friday sessions, just to get more interaction from the people who watch, and hopefully answer any questions that my DMing or the playing might have caused at any form. Alright, with that being said, we're going to go, raid our friend Ryan, so everybody enjoy that. Later.
Real quick before you go, if you don't forget, and say we have everything archived on youtube.com/rollperformance. We'll see you next time.
I don't know if we actually have that / roll performance. It's just the roll performance channel. I'll have to double check if we
My
got the URL.
apologies.
Just didn't want to send people to a bunch of 404s.
That's true.
Alright, later.
Bye, everybody.
Good.
Okay, I didn't know there was a raid timer, so we're going to wait 2 seconds. And now.
Jason, we're still on camera. Oh, there we go.
That's what I just said. There was a 2-second timer. I had to wait to do the raid. Alright.
Ah.
So-